Hello, I'm here with Davina and Donnelly. She is my one of my mentors, and she's also a medical doctor. And she has some great insight about the mystery school and how it helps health professionals. So, would you love to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more about you?
Dawn, thank you so much for that lovely introduction. Yes, my background is in medicine. I've been working in the NHS now for over 30 years. I started as a GP, working in a busy surgery, 7.5 minutes per patient, trying to make my way through 20 patients in the morning, 20 patients in the afternoon, house calls, everything else. And
Mm.
in that mad world that I was working in, I decided to go on a journey of self discovery. And I went down the yoga path to begin with, became a yoga teacher. I did acupuncture, homeopathy, lots of lovely tools to work with my patients. But it was when I stepped through the doors to a meditation class in Belfast in Northern Ireland that actually was run by the Modern Mystery School. And I actually didn't really know that. I didn't know anything about what is a mystery school? What does all of that mean? But I was already searching for something to
Mm.
help me to be the best version of myself for my patients, as well as maybe along the way, discovering some tools that I might help to work with them as well. And that I really stepped into something very, very special. And the way I describe it is that I felt as if I'd been swimming in a paddling pool before I came to the mystery school. And then when I came to the mystery school, it was almost as if the entire ocean opened
Mm.
up in front of me. It
Wow.
was, the studies, the wealth of information that I received in helping me to be the best version of myself for my patients, and then in also helping my patients as well. It was comparable to that. It was a bottomless exploration of myself, to know thyself, and also of the universe around me as well. And I have to say, it's been an adventure ever since, Dawn.
Wow, I love that. Thank you for sharing that. So I want to ask you specifically about, I know, so you've done a lot in the mystery school, but I would love to go back to that moment in time when
Mhm.
you did Empower Thyself Initiation. And can
Wow.
you talk about how that changed your life and how it changed how you were able to work in the medical profession?
Wow. Gosh. Well, at the time,
Mm.
I was actually working in a hospice setting. And so I was working with patients and their families, many of them in an end of life situation. So there was a lot of stress, and I was part of their journey, very intimately helping them to make sense of what was happening. And I was taking that home with me every day, and I was exhausted at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So I knew that I needed something to help me to manage that. But honestly, I had no clue. And I found that before I reached mystery school, I was searching for something that would help me to make sense of things on a bigger scale.
Mm.
Um, the way I would put it now, and my understanding of it now is, Don, that we over-identify as human beings with this physical body, trying to fix things. But we are much more. We are both a soul and a spirit as well. And unless we really acknowledge that and come to explore that, then we only see solutions in a blinkered way, and very
Mm.
much. It's very hard to see the millions of resources that are open to us on a soul and a spirit level
Right.
if we're willing to discover or to explore that.
Hmm.
So when I came to Empower Thyself, it was a beautiful lady called Martina Coogan. She's my guide. She's my spiritual guide, and she is from Galway, now living in London. But in those days, she was working in Belfast, and I had a life activation with her and Empower Thyself very, very quickly after that.
Okay.
And what I noticed was that during those 2 days, I was introduced to concepts that really expanded my mind.
Mm.
Um, in Ireland, we were struggling in those days, in the early days of the peace process. So within, people in Northern Ireland, we were living on the edge all the time.
Mm,
There was this sense of the energy here. You were always looking over your shoulder. I know that sounds awful, but we were
yeah.
in a way suspicious of each other. And that when I did Empower Thyself those 2 days and received my initiation, I received tools that I could really connect with something much, much more expansive than the that tunnel vision.
Mm,
And I began to relate to my patients
mm,
in a very different way. Before it, and I didn't realize this until afterwards, before this, I would have gone way down into their grieving process with them and carried that with me. Whereas with the tools that I learned in the mystery school, I was able to hold myself in that higher energetic state, still empathize, still work with them, through their uh, quest for meaning,
mhm,
and work with their symptoms and really help them with their emotional state. But I came home at the end of the day and I was energized by my work
mm,
because I was able to see and sense a much bigger picture going on at a conscious level. And
mhm,
that is what my journey in the mystery school has really helped me with, Dawn, is that I am able to see things very, very differently. And I have multiple examples of how my path in the mystery school has helped me in my medical work. Would you like me to give you an example?
Sure, of course. Yeah, I'd love to hear it.
So, in a hospital, I now work in hospital a couple of days a week in a palliative care setting. And the rest of my time is dedicated to my mystery school work. And I work with that in a flexible way, which really helps me to travel and do my international work as well. And as you say, I've done many things since then. But the work that I do with the mystery school has really helped me to engage with my medical work so efficiently.
Mm,
And I'll give you one example. This We had to have a patient discharged within 2 hours one morning. It was a Monday morning when everything is really frantic in the hospital. Ward rounds are going on. It's really, really busy. And the family were very distressed because over the weekend they were told that there was a possibility she wasn't going home on Monday morning, and they had a deadline that they needed to meet at home for her. And I remember, listening to their distress and saying, Luz, please leave it with me. Give me these 2 hours to do what I can do. And inside that, even looking back on it now, I don't know how I did what I did. But I was walking her. I actually physically walked her to the front door and put her in the car with her loved ones, to say goodbye to them because this was such an important step for them. But the sister in the ward came up to me afterwards and she said, Anne, literally, I do not know what you did. You did 6 weeks work inside 2 hours this morning. I do not know how you did that. And I smiled at her knowingly and explained to her, that it's not just about the physical work, that it is about what we do in the mystery school. And you know how do you explain that? We use magic.
Mhm,
um Now, magic in the mystery school is, we've got different definitions for it. One of the definitions is to change nothing into something and something into something else. But all of those changes are happening internally inside us. We're turning the lead into gold inside us. So we're getting out of the way more and more of the parts of us that get in the way of light in this world. That is what an initiate does. When you do the 2 days of Empower Thyself, you become an initiate in the lineage of King Solomon. And what that means is that your energy field expands tenfold to hold more light in this physical world so that you can become more effective in everything that you do.
mhm,
And so from that, from a down to earth physical reality expression of that, we can achieve more. in this lifetime than you ever imagined that you could receive, because you are seeing life differently, magically. And another definition is, that magic is something that we cannot rationalize with a logical mind, but we're still able to do it, achieve it.
Yeah.
And maybe that helps us to appreciate why doing something like 2 days of an empowerment course that is spiritual empowerment. You see, what that really means is that when we become conscious and aware of spirit world at a whole new level, our relationship with that becomes tangible in our everyday life.
Mhm.
And that is what the mystery school is all about. It's about bringing spirit into everything we do so that we can bring divinity into our everyday lives. We can be the divine being that we are while we still have this physical life. And
Amazing.
yeah, I know, because yesterday I was in a class and we were talking about the veil, that kind of stops us from seeing our spiritual self when we are in this physical world, and the ways that we can help us to navigate that so that we can come to know ourselves as spiritual beings again. And one of that is using crystals and sacred geometry, for example. So I was talking about that in the other class. So our destiny is to see beyond that veil and reconnect with our divine essence and become that divine being that we are while we still have this physical body.
Beautiful. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing your background and your experience. And I know it's so relevant to so many people in the world right now. So I really appreciate you sharing all of that.
It is my pleasure. And I hope that it helps anyone to just take that step, to
Mhm.
trust. And the thing is, in the mystery school, we do not ask you to believe what we do or to believe what we say. We ask you just simply to put it into practice and notice the change in your life.
Yeah.
That is the way that we come to learn. Be the scientist, explore, put it into practice and see, is it for you? Is it for
Yeah.
you? Just take that step. And yeah, I wish you well, and I wish you every joy in putting it into practice in your life and seeing those differences.
Thank you so much, Davina Ann.
My pleasure, Dawn.